Hello, disturbed listeners. We need your help in a truly terrifying way. A listener survey. Tell us all of your deep, dark secrets. It'll only hurt for a few minutes. You'll find the link below in our show notes. To show you how much we appreciate you, we're giving away 2 $50 gift cards every month. Remember to check out our show notes for the link to the survey. We promise we won't stalk you when we're done.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
My hands were shaking as I fiddled with the lock. Then, as if in slow motion, my keys dropped from my hands and crashed to the ground. I looked up for a split second just in time to see that he was only a foot away from my passenger side door and closing in.
He started to drive erratically. He was swerving from one side of the road to the other while using his elbows to steer the car. He just kept looking over at me, and his eyes seemed to get darker.
From Killer Podcasts. True tales of horror, bizarre happenings, unexplainable events. This is Disturbed. Hello, and welcome back to the show. This week we have 5 stories that will alarm and unnerve. So sit back, listen closely, and dive into the horror. In our first story, one kid gets an unexpected roommate. Narrated by Timothy French, from Reddit user JK Russia 1770.
I don't know if anyone will believe me, but this is exactly what happened. I'm 17 years old, and I live with my family in an older house. We just moved into this house a few months ago, and everything was fine until recently. About a month ago, I started hearing strange noises at night. It sounded like quiet footsteps coming from inside the walls. At first, I assumed it was just mice. Then things started to get weird. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I was fast asleep when it sounded like someone was whispering. I thought I was dreaming. Then I heard it again. It was hard to understand what the whispers were saying. Then I heard something that sounded like, "Get out." I immediately woke up and bolted upright in my bed. There in front of me was a dark figure standing in my doorway. I froze. It didn't move. It just stood there. I knew I was awake, but at the same time, I was wondering if I was still dreaming. After a few seconds, it slowly stepped back and disappeared into the darkness of the hallway. There were no footsteps or anything, just silence. I didn't know if it was a man or a ghost, but I was terrified. I turned a light on in my room and tried to fall back to sleep. Before I knew it, it was morning. I told my dad what I saw. He laughed. He said I must have been dreaming. That night, I decided to leave my phone recording while I slept. When I watched the footage the next morning, I couldn't believe what I saw. Everything looked normal until 3:13 a.m. Then my closet door slowly opened, by itself. At first I thought that maybe it was the wind. But then I saw it. A hand slowly reached out. It seemed to emerge from complete darkness. The hand disappeared back to where it came from. Then, a few seconds later, the screen went all black and the video abruptly stopped. I couldn't figure out why. The battery was still at 80%. I showed my dad the video, and that same day, he removed the back panel of the closet. Behind it was a narrow space, hidden between two walls. He looked all around, but couldn't see any other places a person could hide or go. He was about to put the closet back together when an old photograph suddenly appeared on the ground. It was an old black and white photograph of the house, dated 1987. Standing in the window was a little boy. He looked to be around 6 or 7. When we turned the photo over, there was a message written on the back. I still live here. Since that day, I haven't slept alone.
How do you like your coffee? In this story, one girl's sweet tooth ultimately saves her life. Narrated by Laura Lockwood, from Flashy Sprinkles 218.
I still don't know if I narrowly avoided something really bad or if this guy was just deeply unstable, but it has stayed with me for years. A few years ago, I was at work minding my own business when this random guy stopped and asked me out on a date. I'd never seen him before, and it completely caught me off guard. He asked if he could pick me up for a coffee date, and I said yes. He seemed really confident and old school. He was kind of cute, so I thought, why not? A few days later, he picked me up at my house. He drove a nice car, and the first thing I noticed when I got in was that his car was really clean, almost too clean. And then I noticed 2 coffee cups in the cup holders. I thought maybe he just hadn't thrown them away yet, but then he handed me one of them, and it was completely full. I was a little confused because I thought we were going to get coffee, and it was from the McDonald's right down the street from my house. I took a sip, and it was just a plain coffee with cream. I immediately didn't like it. I have a huge sweet tooth, and there was no sugar in it. That moment changed the entire night for me. Because I didn't like the coffee, I stopped drinking it and just pretended to sip it so I wouldn't seem rude. But from that point, I started to question everything. Why would he already buy me a random coffee when the whole point of the date was to supposedly go get coffee together? He didn't even know what I liked. If this was a real date, wouldn't he have at least asked me what I wanted before he showed up if he was picking up coffee? I was already starting to feel uncomfortable, but then things started to really feel off. First, he drove straight past where we were meant to go. When I asked, he made up some excuse about wanting to take me to a different coffee shop, telling me he liked to take people to places they'd never been before. And then he took out his phone and casually changed the GPS destination to somewhere much further away. I couldn't tell what he put in, but I knew that the directions were taking us outside of town. I made small talk with him to try to see if he would give up where we were going, but instead, I started to catch him in these small lies. Like he said he worked at my local Woolworths, but I knew that couldn't be true because I'm there all the time and I would have recognized him. I made a comment about how I'd never seen him there before, but of course he didn't really respond. Next, he became really quiet, except when he started to repeatedly ask me if I'd finished my coffee. Not just once or twice, but like 10 times. There was also something large and metal sounding in the glove box that kept moving and banging around. When I asked him about it, he said that it was a surprise he had for me, and he made it very clear that I should not try to look at it or figure out what it was. After that, he started giving off a weird energy. I stopped making small talk and questioning him because I knew I needed to stay calm and not escalate anything. I tried to make it seem like I was enjoying our time together. We'd been driving on this country road for like half an hour, and it was completely dark out. There was nothing around. No houses, no gas stations, and no other cars. It was very isolating, and I didn't know where we were going to end up. I tried to keep track of any landmarks I saw in case I needed to tell someone where I was. He just kept looking over at me, and his eyes seemed to get darker. It was making me even more uncomfortable than I already was. And then he started to tell me how pretty I was and how he was so glad I'd agreed to this date. That he'd seen me at work over the past few months and just knew that he needed to get to know me. He started to drive erratically. He was swerving from one side of the road to the other while using his elbows to steer the car. He started yelling that he was Kanye West and I was his Kim Kardashian, and that we were going to take over the world together. Then he suddenly made a quick turn off the road into the brush. He would gun it towards a tree and then at the last minute veer to miss it. I couldn't watch. I had my eyes closed tight, gripping the door for dear life. Just as quickly as he had turned into the brush, he turned out of it. We were still driving really fast, but now we were headed straight for a lake. He was going faster and faster toward it. I thought for sure that was it. We were going to run straight into the lake. Faster. Faster. The speedometer was somewhere around 50. And then he hit the brake and we screeched to a halt right at the edge of the lake, the water hitting the front tires. I was terrified. He let out a loud, long laugh, and then there was silence. He just sat there in silence. It was like he was waiting for something. He eventually got out of the car. It was so dark out, I couldn't see where he went or what he was doing. My heart was absolutely pounding. I grabbed my phone and texted my friend and told her to call me and say we had training the next day and not to ask questions. I also made sure to tell her all the landmarks I saw on our drive out there. When he came back and got in the car, my phone rang. My friend did exactly what I asked her to do. After the call, he just looked at me and said, "So you have to go?" I said, "Yes." He sat there in silence for a few more minutes, like he was trying to decide what he was going to do. And then he started the car, and we drove down the actual road that leads to the lake. I was still really scared. I wasn't sure if he was taking me somewhere else or taking me home. Then we hit the main road that we'd driven in on, and I finally felt a little bit safer. He drove me home without saying a single word. And luckily, I never, ever saw him again. To this day, I still wonder if he roofied me, and if not drinking that coffee is what saved me. If he had added sugar, and I'd actually finished the drink, would my life have changed completely? Thankfully, we'll never really know.
Don't run away. Disturbed will return in a moment. There are things in your life you don't want to be transparent, like your swimsuit or your search history. But when it comes to your wireless bill, transparency is everything. That's why Mint Mobile wireless plans have no gimmicks and no gotchas, just high-speed data and reliable coverage on the T-Mobile 5G network. And right now, all plans are $15 per month, even unlimited. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right with premium wireless for only $15 a month. When you make the switch, you can even bring your phone and number with you. I use Mint Mobile and I have had nothing but excellent coverage. I know that I can reach my family and friends whenever I want to, and the call won't get dropped. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/disturbed. That's mintmobile.com/disturbed. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/disturbed. That's it. There's no catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, $180 for 12 months, plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. Now that summer is here and the days are longer, I find myself going for the old reliable Quince favorites. When I'm lounging around, relaxing, and listening to my favorite horror podcasts, I'm always wearing my Quince modal cotton t-shirt. It's so comfortable that you won't catch me wearing anything else. It's versatile, too. I can easily throw on a cardigan or a linen button-up shirt over it, and I'm good to go. That's why I keep coming back to Quince. They focus on well-made essentials that naturally become one of those everyday staples you actually live in all season long. And it's not just clothing. Quince has become a trusted favorite for everything from home to travel to everyday essentials. Not to mention that everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They took out the middleman to make it easier for you. So make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/disturbed for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. That's QUINCE.com/disturbed for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/disturbed. By making it easy to sell, Shopify empowers millions of ideas to come to life. Everything you need to sell is already there from day one. They make it easy for anyone to get started. And it's so easy for a business to grow. All of the time they would spend trying to set up a selling platform is now theirs when they use Shopify. I've seen this firsthand with merchants I shop with. They started with only a few items, but now they have hundreds of items up for grabs. There are tons of brands that I buy from that use Shopify, and the checkout experience is always quick and easy to use. I feel good using Shopify because big-name brands also use Shopify to sell their merchandise online. I know what I'm buying is legit and that my credit card information will be safe. So bring your ideas to life with Shopify. I'll be watching. With Shopify, nothing stands between your idea and a real business. So go make it one. Start your free trial at shopify.com/disturbed. That's shopify.com/disturbed. Knock, knock. Who's there? It's someone stalking you. Narrated by Dacey Else, from Reddit user HoneyT111.
Before the world shut down in 2020, I moved to France as part of a study abroad program. I lived in an apartment in a family-oriented area with 2 other girls I met online. After only a couple of months of living in this place, we started getting weird visitors at our door. One night, around 7 p.m., me and my roommates were all in our rooms with our doors open doing homework, when we heard pounding at our door. We weren't expecting any visitors, and even if we were, they would have to be buzzed in downstairs before coming up. We all gathered in the main hallway of the apartment that leads to the front door. We were super confused as to who it could be, and it caught us off our guard, especially since it was the pandemic. We finally plucked up the courage to look through the peephole to see who it was. One of my roommates went first, and when she looked, the hallway was completely empty. Figured it must be one of the kids who lived there messing with us. We all went back to our rooms and back to doing our homework. But then, it happened again. A few minutes later, the same knocking occurred. It was harder this time. The person was pounding as hard as they would with their fist. It echoed down our hallway. My roommate quickly went to the peephole, expecting to see a kid, but instead she saw a man with dark hair and glasses staring right back at her. She immediately jumped back from the door and ran back to her room, scared. Me and my other roommates asked her what happened. She told us she saw a man and described him as having dark hair and glasses. I decided to look out the peephole. He was gone. We talked about who he could be and what he could want, Being young women with an unknown man appearing and disappearing and then reappearing again at our door made us very wary. After a few minutes, I decided to check the door again. What if it was a neighbor who needed help and we were just overreacting? I checked the people and saw that the hallway was empty. I decided to get a better look further down the hallway, so I opened the door. What I saw was so totally gross. There was a trail of spit on the door going all the way down to the floor. The fact that the man spat on our door during COVID definitely felt malicious. I showed my roommates and we decided to call the landlord. He told us he was out of town and to call the police if it happened again. We were still spooked, but after the last knock, we didn't hear or see anything, so we went to sleep. Sometime around 3 a.m., I bolted out of my bed. I wasn't sure what woke me up at first. Then I heard it. It was the knocking. He was back. I stayed still in my bed. I didn't want him to know anyone was awake. He knocked again, 2 more times. Then he finally left. The next morning, when I got up, I looked at our door and there was a new, long line of spit careening to the floor. I was telling my roommates about what happened the night before when one of them heard something. Shh. She shushed us and opened the curtain just enough to peek outside. There he was, standing at our front door, looking at a package on the ground. He looked up at our door and she quickly closed the curtain. We went over to the people and saw him take the package and throw it into a trash can. We were completely shell-shocked. We had no idea why he'd been doing any of this to us. That night at 7 p.m., it started again. He would pound on our door and then leave. We were all so scared of what could happen if we ever had to leave the apartment. We called our landlord again, but he stopped answering his phone. The same pattern went on for the next week. He would show up at exactly 7 p.m. like clockwork, pound on the door, leave, pound on the door again, and spit on it. We dreaded the evening because we knew he would come, and it was during COVID lockdown, so we couldn't just leave and go somewhere else. Eventually, we couldn't take it anymore. We finally called the police. They told us to just wait for our landlord and to make a statement through their online tip line so that it would be in file. That since he wasn't actively trying to break in, there wasn't anything they could do. They told us to keep the door closed and not answer it. After multiple days of being scared to be at home, but also to leave the house, our landlord finally paid us a visit. He listened to our story and told us he would look into it. He checked the security cameras and discovered that he knew who the man was. Apparently, he used to be the boyfriend of the previous tenant that lived here. Our landlord confronted him and found out that they had broken up when she lived here and that he went away for a few months. But he was back, and he wanted to see her. He thought she still lived there, and that's why he'd been harassing us. I don't think that explains why he threw the package away, but I'm glad that the knocking stopped when it did.
A quick stop at the gas station leads to a narrow escape. Narrated by Tamica Nason from Reddit user PureBad7688.
I'm now 26, but I was around 18 years old at the time of this encounter. I still think about it frequently when I'm out late at night by myself, and it's made a huge impact on the way I act in public spaces alone and with my children. I was heading to my best friend's house. Back then we were stoners, so she asked me to get cigar wraps from the gas station on my way over. I already had to get gas, so I decided to just stop at a gas station about 2 blocks from where she lived. I'd never felt unsafe in that area. It was your typical suburban neighborhood with nosy neighbors and kids playing outside into the night. It was late, around 9 p.m., when I pulled up to the gas pump. This gas station was small, but the parking lot was rather large. The pumps and the store part were farther away from each other than you would expect them to be. However, the parking lot was lit up and there was nothing eerie about it. When I got there, there were about 6 cars parked out front and a handful of people inside. After pumping gas, I made my way in to get what I needed. I went straight to the counter and got the cigar rolls from the attendant. As I headed out, I realized everyone was just gone. Everything just seemed wrong. There wasn't a soul in sight except for the worker behind the cash register. I got chills and goosebumps spread all down my arms. I found it super unsettling because the road in front of the station was a main road and was usually busy. Not to mention that the gas station was just pretty busy. Nonetheless, I headed back to my car. Then I heard it. It was the pitter-patter of feet moving quickly across the blacktop as if someone was running. I remember thinking to myself, who the hell is jogging this late at night? I turned in the direction of the noise and immediately felt a rush of adrenaline course through my body. Fight or flight kicked in. A tall, lanky man dressed in a flannel shirt and dark pants was sprinting right at me. His hair was dark and he was so pale that his skin seemed gray. Before I could even think, my feet were already moving. I didn't look back, I just hauled ass to my car. I reached for the handle and just like in a horror film, my doors were locked. I had an older car and the only way to unlock it was to insert the key. The fear washed over me as I fiddled to get the goddamn key into the lock. My hands were shaking as I fiddled with the lock, then, as if in slow motion, my keys dropped from my hands and crashed to the ground. I looked up for a split second just in time to see that he was only a foot away from my passenger side door and closing in. I started to panic. He was starting to veer to the front of my car where I stood at the driver's side. Before I knew what I was doing, I dropped all of my things and grabbed the gas pump. I could have run, but fight kicked into overdrive. I was going to use the pump as a weapon no matter what I had to do. Right as he reached the front of my car, he stopped mid-stance as if the world just froze. One arm in the air, one arm to his side, one leg lifted and the other on the ground. A car had miraculously turned into the parking lot. The man and I stared at each other for what seemed like an eternity, but it was merely a few seconds. As the car pulled up to the station, he pivoted on his foot and skipped away, and I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean he actually skipped like he was frolicking through flowers back into the direction he came from. I didn't waste any time. I grabbed my things, unlocked the car door, and drove like a bat out of hell to my best friend's house. When I got there, I must have looked so spooked that my best friend asked me what was wrong. I told her the whole ordeal and I started crying. I had been more scared than I originally thought. She was too stunned to speak at first. We decided to go for a drive to clear my mind and to smoke. As we were pulling out of her neighborhood, I instantly spotted him. He was pushing a large cart carrying a huge metal box down the road into her neighborhood. I could feel my heart beating as I thought about all of the possibilities of what could have happened to me. The car that pulled into the parking lot most likely saved my life that night.
On July 16th, The Hawk lands on Netflix. From the mind of Will Ferrell
Oh, mama, I'm back!
comes a new original series.
Get ready, get ready. That's it. Did I stutter?
When an iconic pro golfer
Lonnie, Honky!
takes one last swing at greatness,
You were a big shot golfer.
I still am a big shot golfer.
no one
Dad, I'm the honk now.
will stand in his way.
That's how it's done.
The Hawk, only on Netflix, July 16th.
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your teen, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
Welcome back, listeners. In our final story, we ask the question, are you afraid of dolls? Narrated by Lillian Yves from Reddit user Professional Way 5468.
As a mom, you always want to protect your kids. But what do you do when you can't save them from the things scaring them? I have a daughter who just turned 4 years old. About a month and a half ago, we put her into jiu-jitsu. She seemed to really like it. But I'm not sure I should let her go back. While watching her at class, I met another mom. She's very friendly and is always telling me how adorable my daughter is. She has 2 older daughters that I think are 13 and 16, and a younger boy who is in the same class as my daughter. We usually sit together and chit-chat until class is over, but today she didn't show up until the very end of class. As we were leaving the gym, she caught up to me to ask if my daughter wanted a doll. She said she had 2 and only needed 1 for her younger daughter. It was a brand new doll and still in the box. I accepted and didn't think anything of it at first. When we got home, my daughter was so excited to play with it. She tore it out of the box and took it with her everywhere for the rest of the day. She asked if she could bring it to bed with her, and I said that was fine. I was watching her play with it and laughing with her, when all of a sudden, her eyes got really wide, and she looked at me panicked and said, "Mommy, I don't want to play with it anymore." This seemed really weird to me. She went from being completely hot to completely cold. I said, "Okay, baby, what's wrong?" She replied, "I don't like that person." I was confused and a little concerned. I asked her what person she was talking about, and her response took me from concerned to freaked out. She said, "The person with the doll. I don't like it." Instantly, I got the chills and asked her if she wanted me to take it out of her room. She quickly said, "Yes, Mommy. She scares me." I put the doll in the living room and went back to finish putting her to bed. She was still pretty scared, so I laid in bed with her until she was asleep. I quietly snuck out and went downstairs to examine this doll. I picked it up and looked at it. Its hair, eyes, clothes. There was nothing evil about it on the surface. I tossed it down in a chair and kind of forgot about it. I watched some TV and then went to bed. About 2 hours passed when I suddenly woke up to my daughter screaming. I ran into her room and found her sitting up in her bed crying, scared to death. She pointed to the end of her bed, and there she was. The doll was sitting there staring at my daughter with what seemed to be a sinister smile on her face. My daughter told me that she'd had a bad dream that had the scary girl and the doll in it, that they were in her bed with her. And then when she woke up, the doll was back on her bed and she didn't know how it got there. It was as if her dream came true. I asked her if she'd gotten the doll from the living room, and she swore she didn't, that she'd been asleep the whole time. She was still crying and shaken up, so I hugged her and assured her that it was all just a bad dream. I took the doll and hid it somewhere safe until I can get rid of it tomorrow. I don't know why we were given this doll, and I don't know if the other mom had ill intentions. I've never experienced anything like this before, but I can't wait to get that doll out of our house.
New episodes of Disturbed drop every Thursday. If you love the show, consider becoming a member to access early and ad-free episodes. There you can also access our exclusive monthly series, A Night by the Campfire. where we share the scariest stories we can find from professional authors. A few episodes have been released here for free, so scroll down and listen. I'm your host, Doug Bailey, and this has been Disturbed. If you have a story you'd like to share, email us at mystory@disturbedpodcast.com or post on our subreddit, r/disturbedpodcast. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and leaving a review. Disturbed is a production of Killer Podcasts and part of the Evergreen Network. For more true crime and paranormal shows, visit killerpodcasts.com. Our producer is Sarah Wilgrube, and Declan Roars is our executive producer. Audio engineering by Nathan Corson, Sean Rule Hoffman, and Will Pritz. Music by Epidemic Sound and by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Until next time, stay safe out there.
Do you ever meet someone and think, wow, they've really been through it, and then realize we all have? That's what We're All Insane is all about. It's a podcast where real people sit down to share their stories that have shaped them. The raw, unfiltered moments that don't usually make it into everyday conversation. There are no scripts, no interruptions, and no filters. Just honest storytelling that unfolds naturally. From heartbreak and loss to recovery and resilience, every episode is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we're never really alone. If you love hearing real stories that make you feel something, stories that connect us all, this is one you'll want to subscribe to. You can listen to We're All Insane wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Sunday.